Auburn flipping Antonio Coleman from Alabama is further proof that this staff just gets
You
it.
are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Joining me today is Auburn message board legend Charlie Five and the host of the Top Button podcast. Charlie Five, has been forever since we've recorded a show. Merry Christmas to everyone. Hope everyone's holiday was fantastic. But since we've last recorded a podcast, Auburn has flipped Antonio Coleman, very, very large human being, the 4-star 2025 defensive lineman from Maryland. That's important. We'll talk about that in a second. But they flipped him from Alabama, Charlie Five. And so now when you look at this 2025 class for the Auburn Tigers, which ranks as high as third in all of college football in the 2025 class, they've got the top 3 rated defensive linemen already lined up, ready to go. I talked about it on the Friday show before the Christmas break. This staff just gets it. You win on the trenches, and Auburn is beefing up the trenches, both in the present and in the future.
No joke, man. I mean, and his staying power. You know, with the Antonio Coleman deal, I feel like the Perry Thompson, being a Mobile/Baldwin County kid, Alabama just doesn't miss on those guys. So, like, you get one, it may be considered kind of flukish. Well, you know what you do? You turn around a couple of days after signing day later, and you flip somebody that is a extremely elite prospect at Saraland. Antonio Coleman, and your defensive line class is pretty much done. But yeah, you turn around and you flip another one from the Mobile area now, and then you see Micah DeBose decommit, and then you start seeing predictions. That's another Mobile kid. What's taking place here? Like, it seems like these guys have made the Mobile area, or really just anybody, in the state of Alabama, a priority, and they're making waves early. And again, your defensive line class may be just about done, and it's chock full of highly rated, big kids. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, Antonio Coleman, and then the Opelika product, Malik Autry, and then Jordan Crawford, the standout defensive lineman from Parker. Oh yeah, let's throw in a little Jacaleb Falk at edge too. Why don't? I mean, this is a great class already. And obviously there's so many people that they get so excited to say, oh, I'm not going to get excited until these kids sign. That's fine. I don't care. Sure. You don't have to get excited. That is your call if you want to live that way. That's fine. But the fact that Auburn's doing this, the fact that Auburn is in this conversation of flipping guys from Alabama early in the process, then you mentioned Micah DeBose, a guy that was committed to Georgia, and then it seems like they're kind of the early favorite to land his services. It's just the fact that Auburn's in all of these. Now, I mean, we even saw an early signing day. The fact that they didn't get a few of those guys that they were really kind of down to the wire with, like your LJ McCrae's and your KJ Boldens. But Auburn's in all of these.
Yep.
Now, instead of just one or two, they're literally in all of these races, which is huge when you talk about this, because you don't have to win them all. You just got to fill out these stabs, and they're doing that. They're absolutely doing that. Classes, rather. And Auburn's already got 8 guys in this 2025 class, and I can't remember a time where Auburn's had 8 guys this early in the cycle.
No, you're 100% correct. I would love to go back and see what our commit list looked about this time last year when Hugh was just now getting here, getting settled. The thing is, you always need to be recruiting at least a year and a half out. So we're sort of way out in front already on the 2025 class, and you could see. I legitimately think you could see a run of 4 or 5 more commits over the next 30 to 45 days of all extremely highly rated kids. I would not be shocked. I think you got Antonio Coleman, in the boat. Do you push KJ Lacey, who I think is right there on the edge of making a commitment? Get both of those guys in the boat before late signing day 2024 that could help, possibly land, a Ryan Williams in, this current year's class. So it just seems, I don't know, man. We seem to be you worry about the shiny new toy. Is it going to last? And you go ahead and you start off the next year like we've started off, and it just kind of feels like this staff's kind of here to stay. Kudos to, the staff you bring in. Like all of a sudden, Jeremy Garrett is just a absolute
He's a machine.
And he had essentially very little experience. Josh Aldrich, you bring him in. He lands the Caleb Falk for 2025, and then the linebacker class that he has from last year. It's crazy.
He sounds like a really good coach too, like an X's and O's guy. I wouldn't be shocked if he was a defensive coordinator in the very near future.
Yeah, and then you got Jake Thornton, which people are like, oh, Jake Thornton, offensive line. You got 2 kids now that you signed in 2024 that are playing in All-American games. Edwin Favor Edwin, it just announced he got accepted to the U.S. Army All-American game. So you got two All-American game participants, and then an All-American JUCO kid, and you've already got a left tackle. You're looking to flip for 2025. You're looking to flip Dubose, and there's several other top guys that you're already in on. It's crazy. These young guys that he brought over, or he's either brought in or brought over from Liberty, they're making waves.
They are, and there's more than as a head coach. You got to develop the players, right? But you also got to develop the staff.
Exactly.
It's a good thing when your staff gets hired away because that means you're making them better. And I think that's going to be something that we fortunately didn't have to really deal with this offseason, but that will be something that we have to deal with in future off seasons. But as of right now, when you're building up that core, I think it's huge that Auburn is kind of seeing steps in the right direction on their staff too, which is great. All right, Charlie 5, you mentioned a few of these guys, but who could be next to commit to the Auburn Tigers? And is this stuff really that related to Ryan Williams? We discuss in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book right now. Auburn is a 7-point favorite against the Maryland Terps in the Music City Bowl. I think Auburn takes care of business in Nashville. We'll certainly see. Right now, new customers with FanDuel can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, now is the time to do it. Spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off your sports winnings. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. It's a Charlie Tuesday on a Wednesday as he joins us. There's several guys that could be the next to commit. And you mentioned there could be several in the next 30 to 45 days. Let's stay in Maryland for a second. And let's talk about their quarterback. KJ Lacey's been committed to Texas for a hot minute. Of course, this is the guy who was throwing passes to Ryan Williams. You buying it? Because there's a lot of smoke everywhere I'm looking.
Yeah. I would right now, I'd be looking at him being your 2025 quarterback. I would say that's your #1 guy moving forward. He's a little bit of a smaller kid, but not much different size than a Bryce Young that was just all world at Alabama when he had amazing receivers to throw to. So this guy can distribute the ball. He's got familiarity with a Ryan Williams and maybe Dylan Alfred I think that's how you say his name. Is there other top receiver that's going to be in that 2025 class? Can that help with him? I could easily see him being one. And I think you want to go ahead and get him to pop. I think you want to push. I think you want him to go ahead and pull the trigger and flip because, it just can't hurt. It can't hurt doing that before February 9th when Ryan Williams announces.
Yeah, I think there's layers to this, and we'll touch on the Maryland aspect in a second, but just national optics. Sark, who is an offensive guy, obviously, Texas getting ready for a college football playoff game, and Auburn's in a situation to flip their quarterback.
Yes.
There's several stories you can stem off of that right there. That's a big deal. And then you bring in the fact of he's boys with Ryan Williams. There's layers to this, Charlie 5. And when you look at Antonio Coleman, who's also a Maryland player, flipping from Alabama to Auburn, another team that's getting ready for the college football playoff. I just think there's a lot to kind of say, okay, Auburn, they're not in the CFP, and then they have several steps to go until they get to that point, but they're able to get the talent that the guys that are in the CFP want and are currently getting. I think that's a big deal too.
That's huge. It's huge. I mean, you have a very highly rated 4-star quarterback, and from Mobile, that you're going to get, that you could possibly flip from one of the best offensive minds in college football right after you didn't really perform that well on offense.
Right.
And you didn't have nearly as good of a record. So, I mean, it just goes to show you how dadgum good these dudes can recruit. It's kind of crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it'd be huge. I would love to just get a pipeline going back in Mobile like we did back when you had your Damian Craigs and you're getting all these guys out of Mobile that can play, your Willie Andersons, all these dudes that made huge impact, DeMarco McNeil, these guys that made huge impacts on Auburn's football team in the late 90s, early 2000s before Saban arrived.
Yeah, when you couple in the fact, okay, Ryan Williams is making a very important decision on February 9th, like you said, do you think this stuff matters for him? Like, is he going to pick where he goes based off of a KJ Lacey and an Antonio Coleman? Because I think that's stuff that is fun talking points. Sure. I don't know if I'm necessarily buying it.
I don't think he's going to go anywhere because of anybody other than Ryan Williams, but it can't hurt. I'm just going to say, I don't think it's hurt. I'm just saying it's not like it's, it may not be, it may be, if you have 10 factors, it may be the 10th, but it could be the one that puts it over the edge. You know what I mean? Like if we get all the other 9 right, and then you throw in KJ Lacey, who knows? It may push it over the edge. And there's a chance, like, what are the odds he ever really even plays with KJ Lacey? You know what I mean? Because KJ may come in, may redshirt, may sit 1 year, be the backup, and then by the time Ryan's a junior, he may go into the NFL, and KJ is ready to step in the year after as a starting quarterback. So there's no real even guarantee that they're ever really going to play with each other on this level. But it's just that familiarity and friendship and things like that. Again, I don't think it's going to be the deciding factor, but if it's number 10, 11, 12 on the list and it checks that box, it can't hurt. It cannot hurt.
Who else could be a guy to commit and join this 2025 class in the next month or two? A guy we talked about before you and I clicked record, Eric Winters, the defensive back from Enterprise. I know you've said good things about him before.
Yeah, I think he's been on the edge for a while. This is a high 4-star guy. I think he plays a little bit of everything at Enterprise: quarterback, linebacker, safety. I think he's listed as a safety on 247 possibly, but I think we want him at linebacker. So you're talking about Josh Aldridge right on the front with another high 4-star, top 150 type player, Eric Winters, who I think, again, he's been like right there on the edge. With all the focus being put on closing out this 2024 class, I feel like if they flip it and they start pressing, that could be a guy that could jump in. And I watched him play.
I'm sorry, Charlie 5. If his commitment graphic doesn't say Winters is coming ... to Auburn, I don't know what we're doing here.
If there's no chance there's not snow on this graphic, when you got Freeze and you got Winters, there's going to be some sort of snowstorm on his graphic. You got to have it. I like Winters is coming. I like that too.
It has to. If not, Eric, what are we doing here?
Exactly.
All right. And then Anquan Fagan is another defensive back you like. He's from Thompson.
I love Anquan Fagans. He decommitted from, I believe, USC. He's from Thompson, another school that we finally got a kid out of this past offseason, Caleb Harris. I believe it's Caleb Harris, safety, that he played in the same defensive backfield with. So you get a kid out of Thompson. Could you get another one? This is going to be a top 100 guy. He's one that I feel like could possibly be close. And this kid's a player. He's going to be borderline 5-star before it's all said and done. A lot of the early rankings for this next class are not all the way in. So a lot of kids that are just listed as 4 stars could easily be 5 stars before the summer camp series and everything and all said and done. So I really like this kid's game. I think he could be close, and I know we're going to push hard for him.
Yeah, once again, that is Anquan Fagans from Thompson. So can't ever get too many kids from Thompson. Can't ever get too many kids from Central Phoenix City. Can't ever get too many kids from Saraland. You love all of this. You love all of, I mean, and these are the schools where Auburn didn't really have a fighting chance over the last half decade. It really felt like that, especially Central. Goodness gracious. And so I think this is huge. You and I I think we did almost a full podcast when after Caleb Harris committed. It's like, sure, he's a 3-star. His tape is clearly better than that, but it's just, he's from Thompson. Who cares? Take it. And now everybody's saying like he's the guy to watch in this class as far as like, guys who could outplay their position in the class and all that, which I agree. I think his tape's pretty good, but yeah, just get all the guys from Thompson you can, and it'll help you hopefully set up pipelines to get other guys from Thompson and Central Phoenix City in the future.
I tell you what, it doesn't matter what position. Just take the best player from Thompson, the best player from Saraland, the best player from Phoenix City.
It'll work out. I promise.
Every single year. Just pick you out those top schools and take their best player every single year, regardless of position, and you're going to be all right. You're going to start stacking it up.
Do you think Auburn finishes in the top 5 in the 2025 class?
Again,
they're third right now. It's a numbers thing, right? They've got more guys given it than most people do, but they're third right now.
I think it all depends on numbers. Like, do you get to where you're trying to take 25, 26 guys, and then it's that whole numbers game where you got more people to spread the points around, things like that. I think they're easily going to be, and I think they're definitely going to be in the top 5 in average player. I think it's just going to be another deep class. I think that's going to be the standard. Top 5 in average player ranking, probably every single year. And this class, every name we're rattling off is like a high 4-star, high 4-star, high 4-star guys that just help boost your average player rating. So I could see easily being up there in the top 5 there. And then if you get to where you have to take 24, 25 guys, heck yeah, we're going to have a shot.
Yeah, you take it. Absolutely. Yeah. And some of these guys that are listed towards the bottom end of the class, your Kalen Edwards, I think he's going to be a guard from Tennessee, Ryan G, the tight end from Alpharetta, and Spencer Dowland, the kid from Athens. Like, those guys aren't even ranked on 247 yet. Like they gave them 3 stars, but like they're not even really ranked yet. So I mean, those guys could shoot up once some of these national scouts watch tape on these kids.
Exactly. And again, camps are big. You're going to have camps where they come to schools. You're going to have camps where they do the recruiting circuits, and they're going to get more eyes on them. And that's just going to be, they're just going to have more opportunities to rise.
Yep. That's right. All right. Who are we watching in this upcoming bowl game against Maryland? We discuss in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. All right, Charlie 5, when we think about bowl games, a lot of people roll their eyes now. There's not a whole lot of interest, at least as much as there used to be. But I think the bowl practices are huge, and you and I have both heard good things about some of the young guys regarding practice. But who are you looking at in this bowl game? Because it's going to look a little different in some position groups than others. The defensive back room is going to look way different. The receivers could look different just because so many guys transferred out. The depth of it is going to look a little bit different. Is there a position group or a specific player that you're saying, okay, I can't wait to see more of this guy against Maryland in the Music City Bowl?
Yeah, absolutely. There's 2 guys in particular that I'm excited to see. I'm really excited to see. This shouldn't be a cop out because he's changing positions. Sort of. I'm really excited to see Keontae Scott at outside corner, and see how he shapes up there, because I think that's where they want him to be next year. I think they want him to be one of those lockdown corners, which you and I both have been sort of like reticent. You're like, okay, we're moving him away from the ball. Let's see how this works out. We like him close. We like him making plays, but sometimes if you can lock down and be away from the ball, that's better than being in there making tackles. If you can eliminate a big time receiver, and I think Maryland, I don't think they have like just world beater receivers, but I think they do have some guys make some plays, because I think they throw for 1 billion yards a year. So
yeah, and what do the receivers look like with no Talia Tagovailoa? I mean, how does that impact things too? But yeah, I think Keontae is a great one. I think you could say the other side of the coin is Kayan Lee. What does he look like when it's like, okay, here you go. We've seen it. We've seen it in smaller chunks of time, but now it's like, here, this is yours. Go take it. Go set the standard for what you want to be as an outside corner in 2024. So absolutely, the cornerbacks will certainly be a big part of what this looks like or what we're looking for in this bowl game. A guy for me is actually Jay Fair. Charlie Five, we've talked about all these new receivers coming in. We've kind of talked about how it impacts these outside receivers. But I keep hearing great stuff about Bryce Cain. And so I just kind of wonder. If there's any extra pressure on Jay Fair with some of these young guys coming in, and also Caleb Burton. What does Jay Fair do, and how does he perform in this week's bowl game against Maryland? That's what I'm looking at is Jay Fair.
Yeah, I mean Jay Fair. I think somewhere towards the middle of the season he got a little dinged up, and I think that's when Javarius Johnson was started to get healthy. So they kind of like flip flopped. So I think he's good now, and he's really him and Burton are some of the better receivers that we have left. So on on the roster with with the few that we've had transfer and things like that. So if you're going to have a passing game, it's got to go through them. I feel like, it's got to go through them and Rivaldo. But I would love to see Jay Fair have a big game and be able to kind of catapult into next year and be a leader in that wide receiver room. So that's one that I'm definitely excited to see. Wide receiver in general, but I'm very excited about Jay Fair because I think he's a good player.
Yeah. Transferring out Jair Shorter, Amari Kelly, Malcolm Johnson Jr., Javarius Johnson. And I guess Shane Hooks and Nick Martin will be playing in the game. Wouldn't that be frustrating if one of them just popped off? It's like, where was this? Where was this?
No, you know what? Let's just. My thing about watching the game Saturday is there's going to be no agenda. It's just you know what? This is a bowl game that doesn't really. Let's just go win. You know what? Whatever happens, happens. Let's just go win. If somebody does well, that
unless Keontae Scott's just like the best thing ever, an outside corner and gets 2 picks or something, the agenda is Keontae Scott's the best corner in football. That would be an agenda. Exactly.
I tell you, I don't know why. I got this feeling.
Yeah.
I got this feeling that this could be a big Jeremiah Cobb game. I don't know. I think it's because Hunter has been sort of wishy-washy on NFL or stay. I think he's going to stay eventually. I think he's going to stay. But like, do you try to save him from possibly getting injured so he can go have a big senior season? Also, the passing game, I feel like Cobb's a big threat in the passing game, and you've got a couple of receivers gone, so you're going to have to manufacture passing yards somewhere. I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm expecting a big play or two out of Jeremiah Cobb, and he's looked like a freak every time he's touched the ball. So these are the kind of games where you get guys like this, like him touches. You see what those kind of guys can do, and for some reason, I don't know if it's going to be a screen or some kind of wheel route or something down the field. I just feel like he's going to make a big play in the passing game and is going to pop one. This is the kind of game for that.
I like that. I like that a lot. I can't wait to see the personnel usage because this paired with the transfer portal, the timing of it doesn't seem to make sense, but I don't know what a better solution would be. But also Hugh Freeze seems to care more about bowl games than the previous head coaches at Auburn did. And I just think these players are going to treat this game like it's really important because their coaches coached into them that it's really important. And that'd be refreshing because I'm glad there's usually a big narrative going into bowl games that they don't matter. And I haven't really heard that from Auburn people over the last few weeks, which is great because we would all say that they don't matter. Then we'd be upset when we lost one. It's like, well, which one is it? It seems like this team is taking this bowl game very seriously. And that kind of excites me a little bit. This whole culture of if it's not a playoff game or a New Year's Six game, it doesn't matter. Well, I think that varies based off of what the locker room thinks. And I think this locker room thinks that this game is important. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, he said it. He said, year one, you got to make a bowl. Everywhere I've been, the very first year I've been there, we make a bowl. And he's put that emphasis on that. Like, you don't just make a bowl just to say and get a participation trophy. Like, You're trying to make a bowl to go win it so you can have a winning record. I think that's a big thing. Winning record after year one means a lot, even if it's 7-6. And I think I think that's a matter of pride for the players too, especially the guys, that are trying to be a part of this build, the part of this rebuild. Hey, we want to, we don't want to have a losing record year one. We want to, go ahead and start this thing off with a winning record. We've had 2 losing records in a row. Like let's get this thing going in the right direction. We're tired of it. So go to Nashville. You got a really good opportunity against a Maryland team who's got just absolutely riddled with portal transfers. One that's probably going to be visiting as soon as the the portal,
tight end.
The tight end as soon, and he's a freak and he's not playing. So you got a good opportunity to go out and they seem to be really into that.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. And this is such with all this young talent coming in, if you're a receiver, if you're a defensive lineman, there are kids coming for your job.
This is an audition. You beat me to it.
Show me you deserve to be the guy at this position, because if not, there are some hulking super teens coming to take this job from you.
There are some studly young children coming to take your job. And that's why schools like Georgia and Alabama and all these guys are so it seems like they just continue to reload, is because of competition, because of stuff like this. And this kind of stuff makes people better. So when you start stacking classes and kids are fighting each other for positions and they're pushing each other, that's how you get better. And like you said, there's some defensive linemen, there's some receivers, there's some defensive players that are coming. Hey, Jalen McLeod, don't slip. You're coming back, but you better get ready, because you got some pass rushers coming in that are just as big as you already. And there may not be quite as fast as you yet or as seasoned as you, but you better be ready. You better be out there. You better be getting after it. Linebackers, you're practicing with some of them right now. So you know how good they are. So you better get ready. You better come out and you better show out. And that's what I'm hoping. That's what you see is, all right, this is my last year. I don't want to get beat out by a freshman. I want to come out here and you got the freshmen that are ready to play. So it's just a great environment. It's a great environment to have that kind of levels of competition throughout. So yeah, go show out and don't lose your job.
That's right. Or somebody's going to take it. Somebody that deserves it. So Charlie 5, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Absolutely. Find me on Twitter at @the_Charlie_5, on the Locked On Auburn Discord every single day, auburnlive.com, the corner message board, or Tuesdays and Thursdays on the Top Button podcast. We're going to have fun on Thursday. We're off yesterday, but we're going to be back Thursday.
Yeah, you can find the Top Button podcast wherever you get your podcast, and it's also on the Auburn Daily YouTube page. You can find all my written work at auburndaily.com, and we will see you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.